Live on somebody's channel.
We're live. We're live.
This ain't my channel. How'd I get here?
I don't know. You're here every Tuesday. It's a miracle.
You know, the squirrels are telling me that this should be my channel.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Could be your
It's a
channel.
Tuesday evening miracle.
I could rent it to you. It'd probably be a wise business decision on my part. So how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Giz?
Not too bad. We have a super special guest tonight.
We do have a super special guest tonight. He's always amazing.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I did have a like a tire rupture on the way home. So I had to do some quick mechanics.
On your bicycle? Yeah.
Yeah, like the actual tire like split open in the middle.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Do you carry duct tape?
Huh?
Do you carry duct tape in your bag?
Yeah, I do carry duct tape in my bag.
Is that how you fixed it?
I did, and then I got home and I switched the tube out, and it was an interesting. It was an interesting ride that last 2 miles.
You actually need a new tire then.
Yeah. I have tons of tires back there.
Oh,
so
that's good.
I was good.
When you had your blowout, you didn't go over the handlebars or anything?
Not this time.
Well, that's good.
I'm almost healed up from the last one, so I would hope that I catch a break every once in a while.
Yeah, last time I went over my handlebars, it was not good.
No.
I sheared off the tip of my elbow.
That's true.
It was not good at all.
I do have some new brake pads too that I need to put on.
Yeah. I only run a back brake now. I'm like, I can't stop as quick, but at least I'm not going to go flying over the handlebars because I'm braking. I got some new pretty sweet wet weather brake pads. Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see who's out there. Who's out there? Who do we see?
Right Whale's vagina to you, Mr. Burgundy.
Yeah, right away I see Beauty and the Vape is here.
What's up, Beauty?
Hey, Beauty.
Hey, girl. You going to Vegas, Beauty? I don't know if it.
Good question. Good question.
I don't think she goes to those ones.
Addie Tooney's out there. He's in the chat.
Hi, Addie Tooney.
Hi, Addie Tooney. Daytime Frank. Kim Dixon's here.
What's up, Kim? Scott Miller. Scott. It's not the right Scott, but I'll still do it. Simple Vapes. What's up, Simple?
Oh, vaping swag. Vaping swag's out there.
Happy birthday to Swag.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy birthday,
Swaggy. Swaggy thing.
Oh, yeah. We should play this one.
Hello, Swaggy Shane.
Swaggy thing.
Yep. So
happy birthday, homie. Thank you for everything you do for us, my brother.
Special happy birthday wishes. We should play this one too.
Happy birthday to you.
Are you trying to summon Rin to the comments?
Yeah, of course.
She's just like, mother.
Mm-hmm. She's like
stupid.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what she's thinking right now. She's like, why do I even click on this link every week?
Right.
Stupid.
So who else is here? Timekeeper 68's out there.
What's up, Timekeeper? Larry Staler's here.
Friction's here.
Friction. Good cat, that Friction.
Ruffini's.
Eric Sutherland. Babyface is out there. What's up, Babyface? Yeah. Clayton Von Kluge. What's up, Clayton? Who else is rolling around out there?
Kenny B.
Yep, Kenny B's here.
Who else is rolling? Who else is rolling out there? It's your chance. Get your shout outs in before we start talking. Once we start talking tonight, I don't know that we'll stop.
I see another one.
How you doing, Jesse?
How you doing, Jesse?
How you doing, Jesse?
Man, if she was aware of your soundboard.
Where are you tonight, Jesse, anyway?
Smoke 42
I'm alone
vape.
in the woods.
I'm alone in the woods.
All right.
Bones is here. What's up, Bones?
Yeah.
Vape Ross Vape.
Vape Ross Vape is here.
Vape Ross Vape. Me and Vapor House Vape need to have a talk about Evolution and what a kick-ass show that was.
Oh yeah.
That was amazing.
Rob Wiggles.
What's up, Wiggles? Focus Evo's here. What's up, Focus? How you doing, homie?
All right, everybody's
always got to shout out my boy Focus.
Now. Everybody's rolling in now. All right. Bones Escada.
Bones Escada, yeah. James Rivera's here. What's up? What's up, James?
Buick.
James Capozzi. We got James Rivera and James Capozzi hanging out.
Buick's here.
The James brothers.
Lumi.
Hi, Lumi. What's going on?
Lumi's
Hey, girl.
here. So, normally we kind of bring people in one at a time, but I think we'll just bring everybody in and get this show rolling tonight.
That's
Addie
right. We got shit
come on
to cover.
in. Lumi, come on in. Jesse, come on in. And our guest, Stefan, come on in.
There he is.
There he is, Stefan Didak, everyone.
The one and only.
Welcome.
Thank God.
Welcome. The anticipation, right? Right, Toonie?
Right.
We're not messing around tonight, man. We're just bringing people in left and right.
Oh yeah.
Time to get rolling.
We're
Time to
getting
get rolling on stuff. Let's move through the formalities pretty quickly here.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we did Swaggy Shane's birthday.
Happy birthday.
I feel like I'll randomly break out into happy birthday throughout the show, though. Just randomly, happy birthday to Swag. I love that dude.
Why don't I know? Let's do Toonie deals.
We're gonna get right into Toonie deals.
Shit, yeah, let's do it.
Party on, excellent.
Toonie deals, Toonie deals,
party time, excellent.
Let's do Toonie
All right,
deals.
what do we got?
Nick's not here to shake his camera, so I need to shake mine.
Well, Wayne, tonight we got OHMAGEDDON's last day of selling e-liquid. Is tomorrow. 33% off. Use the code Darkness, all in caps.
Oh my God, is this the last day?
No, tomorrow's the last day.
Tomorrow's the last day. Yep.
It's a sad day. It's a sad day tomorrow.
Oh, it is mega sad.
So many flavors to love. We love that Apache.
But they will be back with a fury, I have a feeling.
Love that Nightshade.
Yeah, Nightshade's delicious. That Tarantella. We don't talk about the Tarantella much. That taro sweet potato pie mix that he came up with.
Dragonfly. All right, what do we got next? We got GaslightVapor.com.
Gaslight. All right.
20% off if you use code SPOOKY, all in caps, SPOOKY 2018. And that's where you can get that excellent Sunday supper apple butter biscuit.
That is an excellent
apple butter biscuit. That sounds good.
Oh, it's so good. It's Amanda who did that, who did Nada, who did Ruby's line, who did Plumes of Hazards line.
Yeah, Amanda's one of the best mixers going. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. One of these times we'll get her butt on a show.
So what's the deal on Gaslight?
Use code SPOOKY 2018 for 20% off everything.
Oh, cool.
It's a pretty good price.
DHD drip tips over there.
Yeah, they're really quick. They're really quick on shipping.
Yeah, they're excellent. Okay, next on the list, localvape.com. Use code BOO, BOO 30 in caps again for 30% off the whole site.
Wow.
Everything on their site.
Fantastic.
That's
local
awesome.
Local Vape has a lot of stuff too.
There's a lot over there.
That's awesome.
They've been around for years.
Yeah.
So I would definitely take advantage of that one. That's almost a Black Friday deal like they run.
I imagine they have some hardware over there too, right?
Oh, and lots of hardware.
Yeah, they have lots of hardware.
All right. Well, the next big thing is today's the last day for Vaping Swag, and that's the next site.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Swag. Spend 30, you get 30% off, and there's no code needed. And over there, you can get the Gizzard Brew under the SPORKLyFE heading. Go for some of those VSO flavorings, which are all excellent. I love the Meter Made melons and the purple, and So
He's got a gingerbread cookie that he just put out. That's excellent. It's called Catch Me If You Can.
I'm the gingerbread man, bitches.
That's right. It's really nice. I had a nice little sampling of all the new ones, and then a couple that I'm not allowed to talk about. I was specifically sworn to secrecy about those.
All right,
so,
and then we have Breezy.com.
That's awesome.
And they're running,
Breezy.
if you use Boo 35 in caps, it's 35% off all liquid on the site. And there's some good deals over there. They have pretty much most liquid you can think of over there.
Sweet. Remember, everybody, do buy FDA compliant labels and do not buy child appealing labels.
Correct. Okay, we're getting down there. 8 Vape is the next one. If you go to the crazy clearance section, which is already up, there's some really great deals, and they're continuing from last week still.
They saw that iStick 200 watt on sale.
I still saw the I didn't see the 200. They must have sold out on it.
Okay.
But I saw the Kanger 120 for like $14 or something.
This is 8 vape.
It's good to just have in your bag in case your regular mod breaks or something.
Yeah, that's just a beater mod for $14.
This site's called 8 vape.
It's still there. Lumi found it.
How much are they selling for, Looms?
23.
$99.
That's a good deal. That's one hell of a tough mod right there. You can put that thing through some shit and it'll still keep going.
And this is called 8
Yeah,
vape.
that white one's still ticking.
Yep.
And then we go to vape deals.
Vape deals.
Site I'm on all the time. Right on top there with the pumpkin there is a list of the Halloween deals that are going on right now. So you can get kind of lost in that one. And we're moving our way down to the last link, which is for Gizzard Brew. Oh no, it's for Fresh 03.
I reviewed that standing out in the woods.
Fresh 03 just did a review for the Gizzard Brew and really liked it.
That's right.
Act quick and you can spend 30, get 30% off. Look at that handsome devil. Jet.
I was alone in the woods.
No, there's cars clearly there.
Yeah, but there was no one else out there in the woods. Actually, there's just some trees kind of by the end of the parking lot.
I'm alone in the woods.
All right, thanks for doing my Dewey deals.
Dewey deals.
Dewey deals.
Money time.
I should get my hand out of the camera. That way it looks more organic.
All right. Good job.
Excellent.
Good job as always.
So Bull City Flavors is also running a 15% off sale for all of us DIYers. Lumi.
I already spent $100 there this morning.
That's right. That's right. I got an excited message this morning from the Looms. So I'm very excited. So yeah, Bull City Flavors. eSig Express is not running anything, and I did not see DIY Vapor Supply running anything. So the rest of them I did not get a chance to go check. But yes, Bull City is using coupon code GHOST.
Liquid Barn is also running a promotion that's, I think, 30 or 33% off.
Ooh.
For all of their stuff on the site. I think it's site-wide, and the code is pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
Oh, they've got a everybody should go take advantage of that, because they have a like a 10-pack of flavors for like $20, so you can get like 33% off that and load up on your vanilla ice creams. They have their pumpkin pie out right now, which they only release once a year, so it's not as good as Hankson's, but
What site was that, Lumi?
Liquid Barn, code
Liquid
pumpkin.
Barn.
Yep. So get your lava cake, get your cappuccinos, get your vanilla ice cream.
Blue raspberry.
Yeah, their blue raspberry is to die for.
They also have their pumpkin out for a limited time.
Yep. It's not around long, everybody. It's only, I think they only keep it out up until like right around Thanksgiving. So very good.
Lots of deals going on.
Lots of deals.
What's going on with Stefan? What's new?
What's new? Well, flavor ban, and throw a flavor ban on top.
That sounds about right.
Well, while at the same time tracking something really interesting that I should put into words and publish in the next few days. Should be especially interesting for especially the businesses who are on Instagram.
Oh damn! Oh fuck!
Well, this is actually not oh fuck. This is actually oh fuck. That is diabolically evil. So remember how recently there was this study published about Juul's Twitter account and the number of underage followers and the number of underage that were sharing Juul posts? Well, okay, you break down the numbers and you're talking about 43 minors. Big fucking deal, right? So here's an interesting thing.
I don't know. I think that sounds like an epidemic.
43. I mean, that's like worse than an epidemic. It's like zombie outbreak, right?
Yeah.
So Twitter's not a platform that is very popular with minors.
No.
And I think that people communicated that to the research team. So the research team decided to set their targets on other platforms because this was just one stage of what they were investigating. Now, if I was an evil fuck, and if I was on the wrong side of history, and if I was working for my opponents, and if those opponents had a really big bag of money, I would make sure that the data that is being independently collected is poisoned so that the people who are doing the data collection are absolutely convinced that what they collected is real. So over the past, I would say, 6 weeks, a lot of vendors have been reaching out to me saying there's something weird going on. I'm getting all these weird followers. Sometimes they come one by one. Sometimes they come in batches. We had one fairly large vendor who saw an influx of 1,000 accounts over a weekend. Wow. They shut down their Instagram account temporarily to clean up their follower list. But these are accounts that are obviously minors. Each minor has several hundred followers, and they only have 1 or 2 pictures up there. Most of the accounts are about 2 months old, and they're coming in swarms by the thousands. Well, guess what? If I'm doing a study similar to what they did on Twitter, and if I'm mapping how popular certain Instagram accounts or products or how popular vaping is among youth, wouldn't it make sense to poison the data before you start collecting it? Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Somebody is doing it, and I don't know who, but this is very sophisticated PR work. I don't want to call it PR work, but
yeah, there's certainly firms out there that would happily take your money and put together things like that to throw out. I mean,
yep.
Like fucking Instagram is so hard to get people's accounts banned, though. Like that's the problem.
I mean, I know that Juul managed to get a few thousand accounts removed, and that was just the past like 6 months, and that was just the Instagram part. But creating some automated system that automatically follows vapor related accounts and have all these kids hooked together with their accounts. I mean, I'm sorry, you cannot have 2 pictures on Instagram and 700 followers and absolutely nothing to say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you put some boobs out there, you might.
Let's not go.
But if these are minor boobs.
Yeah, no, not good.
So
yeah, something is brewing, something's going on, and somebody's paying a handsome dollar for this.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, we know that like Tobacco Free Kids and all those companies, they all have a ton of money just to throw away. So.
Yep, and they've always been pretty bad at social media. I mean, they've been bad at social media for years. Yeah. To see efforts that are this-sophisticated and that downright evil, they're probably somebody's throwing money at very specialized firms. And think about it: if your university hired to do a study, and you let your automated tools grab a bunch of data, you analyze the data, guess what the result is? Oh my God, it's an epidemic.
Yep. I still want to know what disease we're fighting that caused the epidemic, but I suppose that's here nor there, right?
It's called vaping. It's like horrible if you suffer from it, from what I'm hearing.
Man.
How do you fight something like that? I mean, you know, how do you do it?
It's near impossible, but I think I should get the word out to as many vendors as possible to pay attention to their social media. And if you're seeing an influx of kids suddenly following you, and you look at the accounts and they don't make sense, clear that shit up, remove them, block them.
Yeah.
It's horrible for vaping, and it's horrible for Instagram too. It's going to wreck Instagram, and
And the other part is that this eventually leads to policy conversations about, well, should these businesses be allowed to advertise their products like that? So this is just early stage prelude to nothing good.
Yeah.
Even worse if that was all one person with like 100 accounts or so, because in the password is kid1, kid3.
I wouldn't be surprised if they grouped a whole bunch of these groups together and they've hacked together some automated tools. I mean, doing that is not rocket science for somebody who develops software, but it is one of those things that you would have to find a firm that's really downright evil, and they would charge a lot. I
don't know how evil they would be. They would just be looking at the money. So.
Well, look at the situation that we had a few months ago. I'm pretty sure that, and everybody's gonna like hate on me for saying it, but anybody remembers this YouTube phenomenon called Donnie Smokes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Isn't Donnie still around doing shit?
Apparently he's back on YouTube. It's now Donnie Vapes. Don't give him any attention. Yeah. So his account eventually got removed. Before it got removed, there were like very odd movements. There were PR firms on Twitter asking for minors who were into YouTube, which was sort of odd. Then Donnie Smokes' channel starts exploding. None of the subscribers in their comments made any sense. Then Donnie starts complaining that there were impersonators online, people impersonating him because he's so popular. Now, Donnie was just a fucking useful tool because the imposters out there were pretending to be Donnie, driving traffic to his channel and building him an audience.
Yep.
Now, back in earlier days, there used to be a marketing firm that went under because they did a thing like that for NVIDIA, the graphics card company. They had fake people go into tech channels and tech forums pretending to be happy NVIDIA customers. That eventually got out. NVIDIA had to like bleed for it, and it was really bad for PR. But the PR firm ended up going under and splitting up in 3 new firms. Their entire basis of one of the firms is, if you don't have an audience, we will build you one. Again, somebody's paying for that because nobody's doing that just for fun.
Yep.
So they were propping him up. That's why his channel grew so quickly.
Yep, and right after it grew to it's sort of like maximum size it could be at that point, boom, Vice runs this massive article on this is Donnie, he's the new vaping Marlboro man. And that article did quite a lot of damage.
Yep.
Yep.
And
yeah, it's all.
Vice doesn't do anything for free.
No.
That's correct. Back in the days when they were doing pro vapor articles, it basically meant that money changed hands with other organizations who were influential in making sure certain content would be preferred.
Right.
I mean, in fact, none of the media is actually objective anymore.
Right.
Agreed. Yeah, it's sickening.
I mean, if you want to get word out there, you want to do something with media, it's going to cost you. It's just no way around it. I mean, every now and then you will find a local reporter who's really good, or like in Sacramento, we actually had a producer of the local TV station, I think it was the CNBC affiliate. He was a vapor himself, so we knew that the content was going to be fairly neutral. But that's rare. That's really rare.
Yeah, we had that the CBS Morning News special. I wonder how much that cost, but it was neutral. It was pretty neutral across the board. Like they highlighted the good and the bad. So and at this point, we were all pretty excited about that. Like, hey, they didn't just trash us. All right.
That was a pretty good piece, except for the part where Malia Cohen literally said that for her, it's all about the kids, and you know what? Screw the adults.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much almost verbatim what she said.
So my question for you, Stefan, is do you think that the FDA is going to ban flavors? And if so, do you have a timeline at all? And your thoughts on Scotty Gottlieb recently?
Hard to tell. Scott Gottlieb is a man who's extremely hard to read. He doesn't really have much facial expression, especially when he talks, which makes people even harder to read. So around the time frame of November 12th, FDA is going to make an announcement of certain follow-up actions that they're going to take. There's been a lot of speculation pretty much all over the place, especially in social media. And it varies between FDA is going to ban flavors, FDA is going to shut down online retail, FDA is going to make sure that vapor products can only be sold in vapor stores and not in C-stores, 7-Elevens, gas stations, etc. Thing is, banning online retail would require an amendment to the PACT Act. That is not up to FDA. That would be an act of Congress. So that's not fairly easy for FDA to do. They could argue for it, but it would take a tremendous amount of time. Then there's the part about we're going to define where these products are allowed to be sold and where they're not allowed to be sold. Great. FDA is not stupid, and their lawyers aren't stupid either. That would immediately lead to a lawsuit, probably under the 14th Amendment, the disparity clause, because you can't do that as a regulatory body. So what's left? What do they have control over? They have control over flavors. They could technically do a flavor ban or a partial flavor ban. Mm-hmm. That's entirely within something they can control, something they can determine the timeline of, and it could happen as fast as 6 to 9 months, because all they have to do is, since they already started the process with the ANPRM, put the final notice of proposed rulemaking out, have it run for 30 days instead of 90 with an extension. Then after 30 days, sit down, look at the data, pretend that you actually care, and decide on banning flavors from these products and enact it and give retailers a token 3 to 6 months to sell off their inventory. So worst case scenario, something like that could technically happen within a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always thought that a flavor restriction is probably on the way. That's well, not always, but I think a flavor restriction has become pretty apparent over the last couple of years.
Yep. And also in terms of tobacco control, public health, flavor bans is their number one little baby. It's their number one policy that they're trying to push. It's already spread from California to Minnesota, Massachusetts, a few other places. There is too much focus on flavors for that not to be a major issue at FDA.
Yeah. And I mean, I give Gottlieb the credit where credit's due. Like he gave vaping several chances to come in and toe the line and get things under control, and basically nobody did anything. And that's I think he's kind of fed up, and that's kind of where we're at.
Right, and it's also a matter of divide and conquer. Yeah. FDA understands the vapor industry in broad terms a lot better than people give them credit to. So when the 5-6 big manufacturers, the big tobacco companies and Juul were basically told, hey, we need to hear from you what you're going to do about youth prevention. FDA was already very well aware that especially Juul's been trying to do a lot. They've been spending a lot of money on it. They've been doing school projects, which, by the way, now are canceled. FDA already knew that. Surprise. Well, parts of the project were just not very good and made them look even worse. So FDA knows this. So for Scott Gottlieb to go out in public and say, hey, I need you all to come to the table and present your plans, they already know that those plans are there. They already know that work has already been done. There's already like secret shopper programs, etc., etc. So that was just a bit of public theater. Yep. In the meantime, the part that everybody seems to not understand is Gottlieb invited the 5 big players to the table. He specifically did not invite anybody on the open vapor side. Now, if you look at the comments about, well, maybe we should restrict where these products can be sold. Well, if you cut out the C-stores, 7-Elevens, gas stations, those are the folks with most of the money. Those are the people with most of the very well organized organizations. And those are the folks who provide most of the threat and opposition to FDA. So if you were to cut them out, you suddenly have a much smaller threat to deal with. And you know that within that threat that you have to deal with, everybody's divided on just about every subject you can think of.
True.
That's easy to eradicate. So what I'm seeing is not that open vapor gets a pass because, we weren't part of like most of these 1,300 warning letters. What I'm seeing is not being taken seriously.
Yep. I mean, why would they? Why would they at this point? There's what you said, 5 companies. There's 5 companies that you have to take seriously because they have a little bit of money to throw around and get someone to listen to them. Mm-hmm. Everybody else has just been fucking Wild West in it still to this day.
Yeah, and in the meantime, if you look at the actual policy procedures and compliance and stuff, I was at the Northgate FDA compliance seminar in Ontario. The enormous amount of stuff that needs to be done that nobody is doing. Nobody has, or mostly nobody has started on the reporting requirements for harmful constituents and potentially harmful constituents. That needs to be done and filed by November next year. If you don't have that filed, you cannot take the next step and eventually go to your PMTA. So roughly the cost of doing this is fairly expensive. Yeah. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars per product. Mm-hmm. So most of the industry is not going to be able to afford it. The fact that there's only so many labs and so many consulting businesses that can actually help you put the documentation together, well, they're getting bombarded by the people who do have money. So how are you going to fit that in? It takes about roughly a year to put the documentation together, do all the tests, test for the 39 components plus whatever other components you feel is necessary to test for, which, by the way, FDA has provided no guidance on. So it's sort of up to you to determine what you think is potentially harmful. And if you haven't filed that, what's going to happen? Are they going to enforce it just like they're slowly starting to enforce post-August 8 products? What if they start enforcing it really quickly after November next year?
Yeah.
The rest of the industry is still walking around out there going like, we still have a few years. Oh, maybe a miracle happens. Oh, maybe some relief will come. Maybe the regulations will change. If you don't have your constituents' paperwork done by November 19th, you might not exist for very much longer after that.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot of the smaller companies starting to go. So, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's all happening like we've been talking about this all as a group for years at this point.
Right, and then there's the logistical part. I mean, manufacturers are going to look at their facility, their leases, their cost, and then they're going to decide, well, I'm getting out of this business. So what's going to happen over, I would say, a year at the most? More of these smaller manufacturers are just going to exit the market, which means fewer products out there in retail channels, which generally is never good because, I mean, the whole consumer angle is the more the better, right?
Yeah.
So then you get the retailers who are going to get worried. They see all the manufacturers leaving. They're going to look at their leases and go like, I'm going to sign up for another 3 years. So we're seeing a very slow bleeding that is slow enough that most people aren't seeing it. But if you look at the numbers and if you look at the data, if you see what's going on out there, it's pretty bad. And that combined with the November 12th stuff, I'm not kidding when I say that we're in a much more dangerous time than we ever were in 2009 that eventually led to the Cetera case.
Yep. I concur. Hello, Golf Tea, right when he's drinking.
Hello.
By the way, am I not great in positive news? Darn.
You do always bring the cheer.
I
When
definitely.
you don't pull any punches, we appreciate that.
I would love to have your T-shirt.
Oh, yeah. If anybody at Liquid Barn happens to watch this, thank you. I'm not sure. So I get like these mystery packages from Liquid Barn, and a little while ago it had like 2 T-shirts in there,
Nice.
and there wasn't a note, there wasn't anything, and I'm like, so who's responsible for this? Thank you.
I've occasionally gotten random Liquid Barn stuff, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, very odd. Like it just appears.
Like, yeah, like, there's usually no rhyme or reason to it. Like, they'll release a one-shot, and I'm like, ooh, that'd be cool to have. But then, like, 6 months later, I get, like, 3 random one-shots that I didn't know that were out, and a bottle of basic liquid, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, I'll try the one-shots, the basic liquid. I mean, it's cool. It's cool.
Some of those
gonna be
one-shots
handy.
are actually pretty good.
It's gonna be handy come November 19. Those basic bottles.
Yep. I mean, they've got a pretty decent business model there, especially when worst comes to worst. This is probably the only way for people who are not afraid to mix a few liquids together to continue enjoying a wide variety of flavors.
Exactly. I've got over 1,000 sitting around here.
Yeah, we'll be getting a call from Stefan. Hey, I need a strawberry cream again. Geez, that apple pear sounded awful good to me.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, anybody that I hate to toot my own horn here, but I mean, anybody that isn't into DIY, like, you should seriously tune into a couple Saturday and Monday shows. Like, you should seriously tune in and, you know, go start watching that Fresh from the Kitchen over on TVC's channel from the start. And when you get to the point when it ends over there, jump on over to my channel. Me and Looms are still doing it, still mixing some awesome stuff. That mix we mixed yesterday, I tried it again a little bit today, Loomy. I shouldn't have done that because I want to vape that whole bottle.
Yep. I actually noticed it tastes a lot like Bloomy's Sweet Hole.
Yeah.
And for anybody watching, that's an e-liquid name.
Speak for yourself, Stefan.
So what's the answer, Stefan? I mean, it seems like $100 million and even the truth and scientific data isn't enough anymore.
No, unfortunately, when it comes to regulatory stuff and legislative stuff, the science part has never really done anything. Every now and then you might end up with an official who's like really like on the right side and actually takes the time, but that's just the one vote. And there's 4 or 7 others who aren't. So, yeah, we've sort of lost the science battle, even though the science is still the strongest part we have. The problem is if you don't get average Joe out there to understand this or look at this, or there's no avenues to counter the onslaught of bad PR. Perception is reality, and right now, the past few years, they've created a reality that's very misleading, not truthful, and nobody really has the funds to do anything about it. And I know that a lot of people are like putting plans together, and here and there stuff pops up. During some of the battles in San Francisco, we had focus groups. We looked into data. We looked into what changes people's minds, and people are generally against vaping. They're not happy with flavors because it hooks kids. If you take about 2.5 minutes, you explain harm reduction, you explain the products, about 68% will change their mind. So you know it can be done. Unfortunately, if you do that on a national scale, and you have to do that by constantly repeating things to get 2.5 minutes of exposure time into someone's mind, even at the lowest possible levels, you're talking about 400 million and upward to do a 6-month campaign nationally. Yeah.
A lot of dough.
And not surprising, because if you look at what they're spending in California, the Flavors Who Kids campaign, they've got a budget until 2022, right before the PMTA deadline. Interesting. Total budget is $336 million.
For California?
And that's just one state.
In California?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I showed up at Bill's house, old Billy Gates. I like it, as I like to call him. Just show up at his house. Like, hey, dude, listen.
Well, there actually, I've had a few people ask me about whether certain parties had been in contact with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Sure, they have tobacco-free kids' ass.
Yeah.
Well, sort of related to companies who happen to have a very strong foothold in Silicon Valley. And no, to the best of my knowledge, that's not the case. But yes, there's been some movement and some chatter from the foundation regarding that e-cigarettes might be safer. Problem is, I'm very wary of the Gates Foundation, simply because big pharmaceuticals had their hands in that organization for so long. Yeah. Pretty sure they will not allow a positive pro-vaping position within that.
Oh, I'm fairly certain. I
know a few.
Yeah, no, is it tobacco-free kids, Giz, that Bill and Melinda back?
Correct. On the buried in the back of the website, they're listed as a donor, along with Bloomberg, a couple other interesting things.
It's funny how you always see the same usual suspects everywhere.
Yeah, it's buried, but if you look for it, it's on the, they are one of their sponsors.
So we pretty much need to win the Powerball, the $1 billion to save vaping at this point.
1.6
What if we could get the Amazon guy on our side? That would be like, I could go show up at his house. What's his name?
Andrew something, isn't it?
Huh?
Andrew something.
He's called the Amazon guy.
Yeah, he lives around here somewhere. I could go find him.
Go knock on his door. We need your help.
Just stand outside his tech gate.
Make sure you wear a shirt that says "Vaping saves lives." No buts about it.
I have another question for you, Stefan. It's a multiple point question that I'd like you to go into as to what you think big tobacco, what their aim is. Like, should we be suspicious that they may be helping in the prohibition of flavors, or yeah, we'll start with that one, and then I got a couple more that are big tobacco related.
Well, let me start off by saying that I'm extremely disappointed in Altria's decision to take their vapor products off the market. I also understand that for them, it's one, they want to be extremely careful, and two, this puts an entirely new layer of pressure onto businesses like Juul.
Right.
It's also this whole, hey, look at us being responsible, which, yeah, it's great, but at the same time, they've taken the narrative a little too far, and they sound very much like our opponents in terms of like, well, we're like really worried about the addictive factor to kids, blah, blah, blah. So extremely disappointed in Altria. That said, I work with their public affairs firms over here in California, and even this morning, we were still fighting flavor bans. So while they decided on pulling the products, they are still involved. Same with the other big tobacco companies. They have a future interest in preserving flavors if they can. They're also big tobacco companies. They're huge enterprises, and their main goal is eventually to dominate market share. Unfortunately, they had a little bit of a problem with this tiny little outfit, like 1,200 people strong called like Jewel out there in San Francisco. Apparently they've been like eating all their lunch. So yeah, that's their main target. Everybody else is sort of caught in between. I have not, other than a few weird funding issues that originated Altria that Amelia Howard recently brought up, I haven't seen them actually like try and screw with things. Even in Sacramento, we work with a wider coalition of other stakeholders, including gas station organizations, C-store organizations. And right before the hearing, we collected the speaker cards instead of having the speaker cards turned in. And everybody made sure that I put my best speakers on top of the deck, and they all put their decks underneath mine. They preferred having consumers speak about how the product has helped them. So again, they're like, in terms of working together on the same issue, it's been pretty good. On the other hand, they have a much more longer term view. Their battle is going to continue between all of those big giants.
Right.
So eventually, like they have the money and the stamina to sit a battle out. They have the stamina to bring flavors back on the market 5 years from now, if that's possible, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not too concerned. What they are concerned about is the signal that's coming out of the open vapor industry, where a lot of business stakeholders are agitating against the other stakeholders, the C-stores, the gas stations, etc., where people find their little entry-level products. Trust me, they're seeing that and they're hearing that. Luckily, they're not taking open vapor as seriously. I certainly hope they never will, because if they do, they're going to see it as a threat. And if behemoths like that see something as a threat and it's small, they'll crush it.
So you're saying that big tobacco is not concerned with grassroots, low-level, open system? Like
no, they're actually quite appreciative of the level of battle that they're seeing out of that, because it's a level of a battle that they can't provide. If they provide it, they create it, it's fake. Everybody's going to know it. Everybody's going to see it. Big tobacco companies cannot testify in hearings. They have a hard time meeting with officials. And let's face it, makes perfect sense. If I'm an official, I see big tobacco as like the root of all evil. You come into my office, you're going to tell me, well, we've changed our mind. Yeah, fuck off. I'm not going to believe you.
Do you
think
that...
for them, it's useful to have small business owners, mom and pop stores, friendly faces, and vapors carry the message. At the same time, they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the background, which open vapor is not supporting, funding, or doing anything with. So it's sort of a very odd situation where they rely on us for certain things, and we all rely on them for certain things.
Do you think that they may have withdrawn from the market to possibly let Juul take the beating? And
yes.
Then you know, there's nothing that would stop them from coming back in a year or two and a company like that buying Juul, or you know, that's a question for you. What do you think do you think that Juul could ever be you know, taken over by even pharmaceuticals, like a huge company like Bayer or Pfizer or something?
Well, considering the current market cap value of Juul being $15-16 billion, yeah, big tobacco company. I mean, what did BAT pay for Reynolds? $56 billion.
Right, they have money.
So yeah, when it comes to that sort of level and that sort of money, they certainly would have the money to do it. Whether Juul would be selling out, that's another question, because that sort of goes to the shareholders and the private board and all that.
Right.
I don't think Juul's going to lose a tremendous amount of value, even if regulations hit them hard, because they've already expanded into Canada. They've expanded abroad. They've got, I think, $1.5 billion in liquid funds that they're using for international expansion into England, into other places. So as a company, they probably will survive and thrive because they can do with their products abroad what they can't do here. Take, for example, the Bluetooth-enabled jewel, the jewel that allows a certain level of control, a certain level of youth prevention, lots of software features. I mean, Juul is a completely different company from most vapor companies. The number of software developers, engineers, scientists, and tech people working there is very, very unlike most vapor companies.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll probably survive with international sales, which makes them a much more bigger acquisition target for either a pharmaceutical company or a big tobacco company.
Right. Well,
but yes, Altria's move is definitely to see if others would follow the lead. And if Juul is the only holdout, it would look really bad because, well, look at all your peers. They're giving up a lot, and you don't want to do that. Think of the children.
Right, but they already have an existing market. So it always makes me question their ethics, because if the vapor industry goes down, you know, they can move forward with heat not burn, or pharmaceutical company could go, well, if we, you know, vaping is great for helping people quit smoking. If we could only control it as a prescription only type of device, you know.
Right. Would there be money in it? Because there was this discussion a while ago with FDA about regulating vapor as an over-the-counter product. The thing is, from the perspective of a pharmaceutical company, that sort of makes sense. From the perspective of a business in the vapor industry, it doesn't, because there's no added value. There's no business proposition. There's like nothing really enticing about it. And speaking of entry-level products, I've been trying out a new one. I'm oddly impressed.
What do you have there?
What is it?
It's a Vuse Alto. It's like very Juul-like, larger pod, goes in there, and it's magnetic. This is like literally the first vapor device ever that doesn't crackle and pop. It is silent. It's like very strange.
Does it have a ceramic coil?
I suspect it might have, because I've been trying to look at it, and I'm not seeing any wicking.
I wonder if it's got a mesh. Mesh would do that too.
Well, once I finish this pod, I'm certainly intending on breaking it open and examining the insides. But very interesting that they've actually managed to like have something that works pretty decently.
So
my real question is, where is it coming from? Because I have not seen this particular shape pre-August 8.
I wanted to open the floor up to like Golf Tea. Welcome. Possibly, do you have a question for Stefan you'd like to air?
Yeah, actually, I do. Kind of floats into that same area you were just talking about, with the differences in where big tobacco stands versus the small guys. Do you think it's possible that they might try to absorb the open market?
Not really seeing that. I mean, they might absorb portions of it, and those would be the portions that fit a certain pattern that could be useful for them. So take, for example, the stake that big tobacco bought into Avail. Well, Avail has a lot of stores, like 130 something stores. They're looking at what PMI is producing. They need an outlet for IQOS devices once they get on the market here. Makes perfect sense to do that. You're seeing a few smaller tobacco players buy up certain distribution channels because, again, that's useful for multiple things. Absorbing most or whole or chunks of open vapor basically means now you're facing PMTA on products you'll never get through PMTA. And in the case of liquids, okay, so we've got a liquid, it needs to go to PMTA. It's going to cost us $1.5 million to $2 million, and now we have to test it with just about every possible device out there. It would be so cost prohibitive even for them to do that and preserve that, and especially with the millions of SKUs that are out there in open vapor. I have not seen any indicators that they're even interested in buying or inheriting that portion of the market.
And the reason why I had that question is because when I watched that CBS special they had there on Sunday morning a couple weeks ago, when that head rep there said, I expect it to be smoke-free, that's what we're going for. Figured, is that possibly an avenue that they wanted to take, or do you think they're just going to take something more out of the actual vapor community and try to throw it into their own means?
I think they're sort of seeing the same pattern that we're seeing. Open vapor is pretty much a minor player in the market now. I mean, it's got the most supporters and the most vocal supporters, but in terms of market footprint, it's actually fairly small. So they see it basically go away. It's not a threat unless it somehow evolves into a threat, which not really happening other than some voices here and there agitating things. I truly believe that most of these companies operate within their own bubble. They've got their own corporate structure. They've got their own corporate cultures. With some of these companies, there's a very strong not invented here syndrome, which basically means, well, hey, we came up with something that, was already on the market 4 years ago, but hey, we came up with it, so it's the best thing ever. The mindset is generally very different with the bigger companies.
Makes sense.
Addy Tooney, do you have another question?
Still thinking, Gizzard.
Still thinking?
Still thinking.
How about you?
I can hear the. Yep. Those are the gears.
Yeah, they're grinding.
How about you, Jesse? Do you have a question?
How are you doing?
Oh, that's a good one.
Tired, overloaded, tired. It's getting so out of hand with the flavor. But like, look at next month. Unless something happens that like fucks up my schedule, I've got a flavor ban in San Pablo on the 5th, Marin County on the 6th, and Alameda City on the 7th. That's a 3 for 3.
That's just getting warmed up.
Oh,
wait,
6th is also LA County, I believe, or that might have been the 8th. I get confused with all the dates.
When was your last weekend getaway?
Last weekend getaway, I think that was 2 months ago. Took my wife to San Francisco to see a friend perform. That was sort of like half a weekend.
Mm. And
of course, going to San Francisco is so much fun, especially since I already spent so much time in there. And it's not. It used to be a very fun city. It is no more, and not because of the flavor ban, just because, darn, the homeless problem's really getting out of hand bad.
Sounds like Fresh just knocked over everything.
Not everything. A bunch of things though.
It was a partial knockover.
Yeah, I've been looking for the same thing for a while, and now I'm.
So I have another question. It's from one of our viewers out there. Vaporos Vape wants to.
Vaporos Vape.
He wants to know, what do you think could help retain online sales? You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but maybe you could expand on that.
Seriously, online retail is not the big problem. If you look at all the data out there and all the numbers, so the main problem that is at the heart of a lot of these issues that drive all these policies is, how do we keep products out of the hands of kids? Okay, so everybody has tons of different data, and what it shows is that it's not online sales that is causing it. It is mostly social sources. So of age people, older kids, buying products and selling them on or handing them off. Age restrictions have already been sort of required online. I still see a lot of vapor vendors out there who still only pretty much have a checkbox,
Right.
which unfortunately that's not the way to do it. In conversations like these, you sort of almost have to side with FDA and regulators in terms of, yes, we absolutely agree we need to keep it out of the hands of kids. How do we do that? How do we work with you? And at this point for online, the only option I see is for the good and compliant online retailers to basically tell FDA and tell any state or state regulator, we're fine with increased penalties. We're fine with shutting down the bad apples. We're fine with like literally taking their websites down. I mean, everybody had plenty of time to put age gateways in there and do proper checks.
Well, listen, guys, it's past my bedtime. Stefan, it's always a pleasure.
Good seeing you.
Love you guys. Good night.
Love you, Attitude.
Bye, Attitude.
So yeah, how do you preserve it? You preserve it by basically offering up the bad apples.
It makes sense.
It's sort of like a lot of the flavor bank conversations, and it varies greatly between different municipalities. Most vapor businesses are very confident that they never sell to a minor, not even by accident. We have the tobacco retailers, so that's tobacco stores. They're also extremely confident. Everybody sides on the same side with, well, we've got this like 3 strikes and you're out, and if you have 3 strikes in 5 years, they take your license away. Hey, make it 3 strikes in 2 years, or make it 3 strikes in 8 years, or like make it 2 strikes, or like literally yank their licenses if that's what you have to do. Enforce it, and enforce it harsher. Then we're seeing a lot of conversation about, well, there should be a way to penalize people who buy these products and sell them on to minors. Well, that's already sort of in the state law in a lot of states, except it's not being enforced. So people want more enforcement. They want the enforcement to take care of the bad apples. But that enforcement's not happening in any substantial way. On the other hand, as a reputable, like, good player in the industry, that is absolutely what you would be advocating for. You're advocating for the government to take out your competition that is not playing by the rules. The real question is, how, as responsible vendors, do you get together and come up with a plan and actually help make that happen without it turning into possible legal issues or drama, or like, how do you work together with government to make sure that enforcement actually happens in a appropriate way?
Makes sense. How do you feel about working with Big Tobacco, or partnering to a certain extent with Big Tobacco to fight the flavor bans?
It's oddly enough a breath of fresh air at times, because hate to say it, and again, people are gonna like really hate me for it, but those are some of the best public affairs firms. Those are some of the most well-trained people who really understand what they're doing. They're extremely smart. They're extremely effective. It is not something we see a lot of in open vapor. So it's refreshing to work with like really serious professionals. At the same time, you always have to like keep in mind that we're fighting on the same side against exactly the same issue. But even at the tail end of some of those issues, our interests might not eventually align. I mean, I usually go along with the messaging where we want a grandfathering clause in a flavor ban, because that sort of takes care of all the existing businesses. They can continue on. basically what we do is we define the win. So legislators get to look good because they saved the children. Tobacco control gets another notch in their belt because they got another flavor ban. And on our side, for the retailers, nothing really happens. It's business as usual. So if we can't get a grandfathering clause, and we're all trying to get one, I usually split off and I will argue for exemptions. Unfortunately, I also know that those exemptions will apply to vapor retailers, but will not apply to most of the other tobacco retailers. And that is just an unfortunate situation where interests are not always the same. Because if we can't get something that saves everybody, I will go for the argument that'll save the people I represent. And yes, an exemption for vape stores is easy because if you make a certain percentage of revenue off of flavored vapor products, yeah, that's pretty much 100% for most vapor businesses. For the average C-store or 7-Eleven or gas station, it's maybe anywhere between 10 and 20%.
Makes sense.
So yeah, we'll fight on the same message. We'll fight for the same solution. But if at that point that solution isn't happening, yeah, we sort of split off again, and it's every man for himself.
So, on a follow-up to that, sort of, I have a kind of a touchy question for you. But we've heard some murmurings recently, and maybe you can just tell us: has not blowing smoke taken funds directly or indirectly from big tobacco?
Yes, those murmurings. Oh, those are amazing. They're mostly originating from folks who are extremely vocal, who also recently were talking about Juul's stock going up on the New York Stock Exchange, which is really interesting since they're actually a privately held company. Not Blowing Smoke has absolutely never taken a single penny from any big tobacco company ever, either directly or indirectly. Neither have I. And the story out there about how I apparently built the Let's Be Real San Francisco website and then sold it onto Reynolds, I've never touched that website. It was never mine.
Okay.
And apparently I sold it and got like $30 million for it, which is really amazing because I've been telling my wife, who's an actual web developer, who, by the way, also never took a single dime from any tobacco company, like, wow, you really must step up your game because I apparently can create a website and charge $30 million for it.
Man, that's good money.
Yeah, the problem is the people who are repeating that completely false rumor do not understand how a ballot committee works. MBS was signed on to the ballot committee in order to cover our ass legally and for us to be part of media, campaigning, and everything else. I don't hear anybody say, hey, VTA was part of it. Hey, CASA was part of it. Hey, AVA was part of it. SVADA was part of it. Everybody signed on. Unfortunately, I was the guy in the limelight because it was San Francisco. It's close, and I'm like the first responder. Right. We pushed that campaign. We worked very hard on it. We actually spent our own Not Blowing Smoke money and never even asked for a reimbursement from the committee, because that is where the money goes to. The money goes into a committee. The committee decides how to spend it. Everybody around us decides what needs to be done. Somebody else signs a bunch of checks, a bunch of professionals, consultants, and media gets hired, and that's how you run a campaign.
Was Not Blowing Smoke involved in the formation of No on Prop E committee? Were you involved with creating that committee?
We were involved in discussing it along with the other stakeholders. The California and San Francisco stakeholders. We were part of the group that basically decided, well, if we can take litigation action, which, by the way, would have been much cheaper than a referendum, and if Reynolds wants to like put that amount of money into trying to fight this or otherwise buy an extra year of time, yes, we voted for being part of that. But that is different from being an actual part of forming the committee or having your name attached to any documents or any of that.
I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate you on finally being able to get that Southwest Airlines off the side of your private jet.
Yes, yes. Well, apparently there's this legislator who recently said that normal everyday people can generally just fly private jets. It's no big deal because apparently she did and blew a lot of money. One of my vapor friends tagged me in it, and I came clean. I explained that our private jet was actually a used one. We couldn't couldn't afford an actual new one, so we got it secondhand. We also got the 2 pilots thrown in for free with it. I'm not sure exactly why, but there was some rumor about like landing in a lake like once or twice too often. So I mean, they haven't done it ever since. But yeah,
on the cheap.
Yes.
I'm sorry that you had to put your butt where someone else's butt has been previously, Stefan.
It's horrible. Like, really, who allows all these people on my plane?
It's ridiculous. My private jet that has Alaska on this Alaska Airlines that is going to be taking me to Vegas. I'm really upset because it was fully booked except for like 2 seats. So
that is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. You should write a written complaint.
I should. I'm gonna go find the Amazon guy. I'm pretty sure he's involved somehow.
Hey, be careful with Amazon. They would put you on a drone.
True. Bezo might fly me on a drone down to Vegas.
One of our viewers, Vaporhouse Vape, he wants to point out that that very nice box fan that you have behind you. Yes. looks definitely like it was bought with big tobacco money.
Oh, absolutely. Well, actually, the part that you can see, which is much more important than that fan, is the additional 12,000 BTU air conditioner that's like on the other side of this wall.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the really important part because it blows the cold air into that fan, which blows it to me.
I see. Well, I was thinking if you got $12 million for making a website, that you'd probably be running Dysons over in that corner.
Well, you know what?
Air purifiers. And,
if I actually had that money for selling a website, I would have the 2 windows that are behind my monitors here. I would have them removed, made smaller, and I would put like these wall-mounted air conditioning units right in front of me.
Fantastic.
Apparently, it costs like 20 grand to do that, which yeah, it's a little rich for my taste. Plus, I have to like dismantle my entire office for that to happen. I'm not sure where I'm going to get the time to do that.
I'm actually curious. I saw something in the comments a little while back. Somebody had asked what us as a community have raised up and helped contribute to stop, like between donating to CASA and stuff like that. Has there been anything that was definitely ours that we as a community came together to put a hold on?
Within the context of the San Francisco referendum, or in general?
I think in general is what they were
in general. Consumer spending has generally not really made much of a difference for anybody, and I'm pretty sure I can say that for every other organization out there. It's pretty much always been industry funding, and you know it sort of has to be that way because asking consumers for money is one of those like really tricky sort of things. It's the consumers who are generating the money for the businesses. The businesses are actually like making a profit off of it. So funding the fight should definitely come from industry. Unfortunately, you also run into the problem where if you're an organization and like MBS, you're consumer driven, consumer led, you end up with, well, but you're taking money from industry. Well, yeah, because there's nobody else out there who would fund anything anyway. I'm not sure what the actual numbers are of consumer funding for organizations. I would have to ask my treasurer to see if he can even run the numbers on that. But I think that over the past few years, in our case, it's probably less than, I would say 500, but let's say 1,000, less than $1,000 in general over all the years combined. And that's mostly from small donations, like $5 here, $15 there.
Excellent.
Fucking genius.
Scat! It's your birthday too, Scat. Happy birthday to Scat. Happy birthday to Swag.
Hey, where's the birthday cake liquid?
You should have. Didn't Swag made a birthday cake liquid a couple of years ago? That was pretty good. It's like it was like ice cream and fluffy white cake. It was delicious. You two should make a birthday man sandwich. Happy birthday to you. There we go.
We did have another question from a viewer a little bit ago. When we were talking, you were talking about the online vendors that are just using like a check mark or whatever. This person was asking, Charlie is his name, was asking a question: is there an approved system that if online vendors use it, their risk can be reduced if they get it wrong? So in other words, if somebody, do you know of any of like age verification things that you would either recommend or that you know that would actually take some of the risk of penalties out of the deal?
Right, so you're basically looking for a third-party age verification plug-in software solution that comes with a service that can actually be held liable if they make a mistake. I wish I knew. I'm not that familiar with the details of the contracts and the service levels that they provide. I don't think anybody has that. I could be wrong. If there is anybody who has that, it's probably one of the like really, really expensive services that most people don't use.
Right.
The other thing is if you look at age verification, I'm one of those people who cannot age verify through several systems, which is really interesting because when I want to order a whole bunch of Enjoy Dailies, because I use Enjoy Dailies when I'm out there, if I want to order them, I have to get my wife to order them because the system doesn't recognize me. The way most of these places get their government data, they get it from government sources that are tied to banking sources. And the only way you end up showing up in there is if you're using credit cards, if you've ever used credit, if you've ever used debt, which generally is like most people. I'm a FICO 0, so I don't exist in the system. So at this point, my only option is to send them a copy of my green card, and then an actual human has to look at it. Here's where the problem starts. You cannot tell whether that's a fake ID or not. I mean, my green card's not fake, but let's assume this is someone else.
I see.
Can't verify because you're looking at a picture.
Right.
And I don't think there's services out there that have a liability clause.
Are you saying no vapes for immigrants?
Well, that's sort of how the system apparently works.
Damn. Build a wall.
Yeah, that's really interesting because the first time I had to deal with that, it started asking me all these questions about like, what was your first car? What was your first license plate? Didn't have a first car here, and I didn't have a license plate, so I can't give you that answer. But clearly, you're trying to look that up in yet another contextual database that has that info on people.
But it's better to use something that an age verification that's a little bit more extreme than it is to just like hit a button.
Yes. There's a large degree of variety. I think what's the name of the one that people complain about because it's so expensive, but I also know it's really good. Veritas.
I remember I've had dealings with Veritas.
Yeah, they're sort of like one of those archaic behemoths, but apparently from what I understand, they're extremely good. They're also extremely expensive.
Don't feel bad. I get kicked out too just because I have a mental age of 11.
Wait, it's at least 16. Come on.
Gizzard 16?
No.
Well, you even push it a little, right?
I might say 13 and best.
Just aged very quickly.
I don't know how they know the mental age, but I have been kicked out.
I was gonna say, do you have a Dr. Seuss quote for us, Gizzard Stew, tonight?
I don't know. I might.
Okay.
Redfish.
By the way, if you're
bluefish.
looking for cheap age verification, that I was fairly impressed with. I think it's called authorize.net, or was it agechecker.net. A few years ago, I ran into the guy who actually built the software, wrote everything himself, and built this nice little company around it. We ended up getting stuck at an airport after an expo for 6 hours, and we totally hit it off. And I just kept being reminded that this kid, because he couldn't be any older than like 21 or 22, this kid reminded me a lot when I was like having my heyday in computer and software development stuff. Apparently, his magic is that he has an entire team in India that actually looks at the pictures of IDs that people send in because you're not in the system yet.
Does anyone have like a totally off-topic question? Because if you don't, I do.
What size shoe do you wear, Stefan?
What size? Oh, Jesus. American sizes, I am not sure. It's
I'm familiar with Euro sizes.
UK 11.
In Euro sizes, it's a 38.
38. Yeah. Okay.
UK 42.
I wear 40. I wear 42s. So.
I do too.
What?
Yeah, I'm not Bigfoot.
me either. It's like a size 9 in the US.
The only reason he knows that is because he owns Birkenstocks.
No, it's because I own bicycle cleats, Gizzards do.
Birkenstock.
So then my off-topic question will be, with all of those screens back there, what kinds of video games do you play? You gotta play something.
Actually, it's not the screens back there. It's the screens in front of me here that are way more impressive because I've got like 224 inches on this side. I've got 332 inches on in front of me. Like that is the small part behind me of the office. Computer games. Well, this is the interesting thing. I hardly ever play computer games.
He's a busy man, Lumi.
I used to write 3D computer animation software for large companies back in the day, and
Pixar.
I worked on.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, total CompuSqueeb. Was it CompuSqueeb in a bottle? Yeah, so it was mostly other people creating computer games with the stuff that we used to create. I've been impressed with a lot of the new graphics cards and the way that we now have 3D graphics that is real time in a way that used to take hours and hours of rendering. I'm really impressed with the fact that my phone will run 3D games better than one of my first $40,000 workstations from Silicon Graphics back in the like late 80s. Other than that, I hardly play any games. I might like look at a demo of stuff, look at the graphics, look at how things have progressed, but unfortunately, I generally don't have the time to like play games.
So there
Lumi's so heartbroken. She's like, those monitors are a waste on you, Stefan Didak. Just a waste.
Well, come on over, play some games.
She's on her way.
But by the way, one word of warning. If you turn everything on in this office, including like a bunch of the computers and the servers, it gets extremely hot in here.
I would imagine.
Oh, that's fine for me. I don't have a thyroid, so I don't do cold.
Okay, perfect.
What else we got? What else we got, everybody?
Fucking magnificent.
Do you have a secret nerdy side other than the video games, like Star Wars, Harry Potter? Hobbits? Lord
No,
of the
I've got a very long-standing history in playing Dungeons and Dragons, though.
Ah, D&D.
That book's
Yeah.
that book's that nerd Shindo. I'm waiting for Shindo to pop in, like, and slash Shindo and Slasher to just come rip roaring in, like, Stefan, we got a game Friday night.
Oh, I started playing D&D back when I was, 14, 15 or something? Yeah.
What about Magic the Gathering?
That was sort of like after my time, never really got into it. Couldn't even tell you what the rules are. I mean, I'm aware of it. It's just never really got on my radar.
That was a bad dark hole from Lumi. Bad dark hole.
I'm with you, Scott Miller. I don't have free time. I don't know what the free time is because I like to stay busy.
I have kids. I don't have free time. There's no such thing.
But by the way,
free time.
Speaking of nerdy side, yeah, this is a great office. It gets really hot. Most of the time, because I spend a lot of time outside, my phone is the only screen I look at. But since my hours are like really long and they start pretty much from the moment I get up, I'll happily put a picture on Facebook because nobody's gonna like believe this, but there's this like huge beefed up workstation behind my nightstand in the bedroom, and there's a 27-inch 4K monitor on my nightstand with a tiny keyboard, which explains why I'm always connected and sometimes might actually like respond if you ping me at 4 a.m. How's that for insane?
Guilty. No.
He's like, it's only 4 a.m. I know Stefan's up.
He's always there. It's actually easier to get hold of him at 3 in the morning.
That is true.
Have you ever gotten so warm in your little workstation that you've taken a wet rag and then covered it in VG or PG and then put it on yourself because you didn't have water nearby?
No, I haven't done that, but I can tell you that there have been times when I was like more actively developing software and things heating up in here and needing my screens on, needing extra servers on, while at the same time it's 115 degrees out there. You might actually catch me in my office without a shirt on.
No VG or PG involved?
No VG and PG involved. I mean, here's the thing: if you're shirtless in your office, and you've got many monitors around you, I don't think you want to do something that people might confuse with lubricants.
Oh, that's my next question then. Do you ever hide any video camera source that you have whenever you're topless?
No, I haven't actually covered them up. I'm probably very confident in my abilities to notice when there's a service or a task running on my machines that shouldn't be.
What are you trying to do, Firefox?
All right, so I have an off-topic question from something that I noticed it happened like 3 or 4 days ago, and just wanted to get your take on it because I was kind of mortified. But what do you think of the new lead director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is a former Monsanto employee?
The revolving door of Monsanto, whether it's with FDA or other government parts, is really scary, actually, if you think about it. However, this brings up a really great conspiracy theory that's been going on since forever. And I do mean forever, like 2010 onwards. Julie Wisner's husband actually like works at Monsanto. He's like a chief scientist guy there. Mm-hmm. When folks discovered that, the stories about how Monsanto must have been working on high-yield nicotine eggplants and they're going to take over the nicotine market, that was actually a thing for a few months.
Yeah.
On the other hand, right now would be a really good time to have such eggplants. Hello?
It would
Exactly.
be.
High Nick, it's the future of DIY. High Nick eggplants. You just squeeze your grams out of your eggplant into your bottle on your scale.
At this point, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, heck, it's not tobacco derived. Screw the FDA, right?
Genetically modified eggplant.
That's right.
I can see vaping swag already on this. Now that we put the seed there, he's going to be like, oh, what else can I do in my clean room? Let me see if I can get some nicotine extracted from some eggplants.
So what I'm hearing is I should, next year for my garden, fill it with nothing but eggplants.
Well, see,
you're going to need a lot of them.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, tomatoes and eggplants. You're going to need a lot of tomatoes and eggplants. I hope you like that eggplant parmesan, because you're going to need a lot of it.
Make sure you buy your seeds from Monsanto.
Hundreds of acres.
Yeah, no, yeah, and then I could totally see TJ setting up a lab in the basement, though. Like he's piecing together a genetic manipulation lab. It'll be fantastic.
And what you actually need is something that extracts the nicotine while leaving the eggplant intact, so you can sell off the eggplant saying they're nicotine free.
It's for the kids. I can sell it really easily.
It's exactly your front is Gulf tea eggplants, and the back end is Gulf tea nicotine.
Mm-hmm. See, $1 million business idea right there.
I think
that's a billion. That's $1 billion idea, Stefan. $1 million? No, that's $1 billion if we could work this out.
This would be great for vaping swag, just because he's such an awesome person extracting flavors from vegetables, fruits, stuff.
We could finally bypass the little two-dick koala bastards that just got South Australia banned. We could finally bypass them.
Yep.
Eggplants.
Well, yes, because then you could sell it as eggplant extracts.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Fucking glorious.
Those fuck the little crafty bastards. Look at us over here.
Eggplants.
Fucking magnificent.
The real question here is, so with FDA cracking down and tobacco-free nicotine actually not being regulated, and if they do, it's still years ahead, what portion of industry will be jumping on it?
Oh, that's got big pharma written all over it.
I mean, it is a partial sort of solution that sort of could keep certain players running for a little longer without going through PMTA.
True enough.
Johnson & Johnson?
No, I don't like Johnson & Johnson. They've got this charitable arm called the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation. They paid Change Lab Solutions in Oakland $4.1 million to come up with a Lego block legislation model for flavor bans, and that's what they've been using here for the past 2 years. So, yeah, not a big fan of those guys.
No.
And apparently they really hate it when I keep repeating that they gave $4.1 million to have that written.
Can you just repeat it one more time?
Yeah, so Robert Wood Johnson Foundation paid $4.1 million to change.
It's going to be my Instagram meme for tomorrow.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Need to go find one of those guys to adopt me.
Wait, you have to be under 21 to be adopted, right?
I can pretend.
Okay.
I act way younger than 26.
Yeah, did Johnson & Johnson pay for those puppets?
No, that was on Truth Initiative, and by the way, there's like 6 or 7 different ones of the puppets. They're all pretty bad. And by the way, Truth Initiative, I put a funny post out simply because I felt that everybody deserves a laugh. So there was this podcast that somebody pointed out to me, totally unrelated to vaping, and they're interviewing this movie director, and he's explaining how he was working on the Truth Initiative commercials in like 2008 or so, And the only place where they could have private conversations was out with the smokers. So at one night, he's miserable. He's like, oh, give me one. Give me another one. Then a week later, he's buying a pack. And apparently, he's not the only person who got addicted to smoking while working on Truth Initiative commercials. The irony.
The irony.
Oh, yeah. All right.
By the way, Truth Initiative put a commercial out, I think it was yesterday or the day before. They've collected little snippets and bits from YouTube and YouTubers.
Oh, really?
Mostly the really young ones.
Oh, of course. They don't want anything to do with us.
That rules
Nope.
me out.
Nope, and they've strung them together in a 2-minute little commercial explaining how this is an epidemic.
Oh, the epidemic.
Interesting thing is that I'm pretty sure nobody actually gave them permission to use that stuff. So,
If anybody sees your likeness, I wonder. I feel bad that I need to watch this commercial, but I'm going to watch it and see if I recognize anybody and send it out to them.
I'll send you the link later.
Okay.
It's on the Truth Initiative YouTube side. It's the latest one. But yeah, they're really stepping up their game in trying to make things look even worse than they are. And the interesting thing is they're using bits and pieces from Donnie Smokes and bits and pieces that haven't been online at all since he was taken down. So they must have been really saving all this stuff for like rainy day.
Yep. Or they've just got, since they took the money recently, they can. They just have a nice think tank that's backing them. Here you go. Use these videos.
The truth.
Well, I don't think they need anything other than themselves, because if you look at the last IRS 990 that they filed for 2000, I think it was 2016. Truth Initiative has pretty close to $1 billion in assets on the books.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, and contrary to what I've heard people mention in terms of like their funding comes from the MSA, so they're being funded by Big Tobacco. No, they got started as the American Legacy Foundation. They were started by millions of dollars of MSA money, and instead of actually using it for educational purposes, they put it in the stock market, and it's been generating money for them ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought they got their start from the National Organization of Orthodontists, because they were the Tooth Initiative.
The Tooth Initiative. Well, they certainly are biting now. Let's see how those dentures are working.
Oh my God. You know what, Truth Initiative?
And stuff her up your butt.
There you go. So right in the end, Giz, where are we all going to be vaping?
Alone in the wood.
Good.
I just love the Poodle Pearl soundboard, so any excuse I can generate at this point to get Giz to push one of those buttons.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm alone in the woods.
Yeah, that's where we're all going to be vaping.
Well, better watch out for all this beer shitting there.
I mean, I've got my cat. She'll take care of me. She just looked at me like, the fuck I will.
Unless there's a squirrel.
Your cat.
She started purring.
That's right, purring.
All right. Jesse.
Yes.
What is your 2 cents?
My 2 cents is...
You're on the spot. I'm gonna highlight you. No,
what are you going to highlight me for? Okay, I have a question. And what's the one thing we can do as vapors that we tend to be more passive aggressive with to help our situation out?
Oh, well, perfect. God, people are going to hate me even more for saying this, but since apparently most of the open vapor industry business stakeholders have ignored years and years and years of great advice that not just myself, but everybody else has been providing them in terms of be more of a part of your local business community, be out there, meet with other businesses, meet with your elected officials, go to their little fundraisers, you know, rub shoulders. It's going to help. Well, guess what? Most of the flavor bans that we managed to get killed or like totally derailed was because certain people had good connections. Now, unfortunately, open vapor industry has still not done any of this, and I keep repeating it at least like 10 times a week. They won't do anything until bad policy arrives at their doorstep, and then it's usually a little late. What can a vapor do? Do what the businesses aren't doing. Meet with your local officials. If there's a local event going on and you know your city council members are going to be there, go there, attend, say hi, bring up the fact that, wow, yeah, no, I used to be a smoker and this is so great. And if you know that there's like bad policy stuff going on in cities around you or statewide, bring it up and express how concerned you are. Can you imagine if I don't know, 10,000 people did that literally within the span of 3 or 4 months?
Yeah.
If the industry is not doing it, consumers generally have less time to go into hearings and meetings and all that, but they're not doing it. So maybe consumers should take on that role.
Right. Makes sense.
And it might even be fun. I mean, sort of depends on where you live and what sort of officials you're talking about. But yeah, meet with legislators. Be part of the wider community. Go if they send an email out that they're having a little town hall meeting or whatever. Attend. Say hi.
Good call, Charlie. Yep. All you do is appear at a city council meeting. They will get curious as to why you're there.
Yeah, and I'm getting a ton of shit online from people saying, "Oh my God, the guy didn't care enough because he didn't kill a flavor ban in Beverly Hills," which is 9 hours from me. And by the way, I was there twice. Didn't kill a flavor ban in Beverly Hills, but he did go out of his way and kill one in his own hometown. Yeah, guess how I killed it? I've got great relationships with all the council members. It didn't go anywhere because the connection is so good. It was easy to talk to them, and it was very easy to convince them that this was just stupid. Plus, they're fairly conservative for California purposes, so that helped. But yeah, the mystery of me going out of my way, I didn't go out of my way at all. Had a few conversations. That's it. Showed up at a hearing, said hi.
Right, but you put your time in with them already.
Yeah, which is total pre-vapor days, and yes, it does take time to build up relationships with officials, but industry isn't really doing it. Maybe consumers should. And by the way, your message as a consumer is equally, if not more important, because while industry has a stake in it for their profits and their revenue and their business, consumers have a stake in all of it because of their health, which I think is rather important.
Yeah.
So I have another question for you. Do you foresee any time in the near future when the different advocacy groups will band together to fight, say, the FDA? What's going on there?
Work alongside each other,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, we've pretty much been doing that for a long time, other than there's people online who apparently think that we're all hating each other. Well, some of the groups are, which is actually true. But I don't think they will be merging into one large organization. I mean, I've heard the arguments. I've heard the messaging out there from people saying, "Oh, what we need is like an NRA for vaping." Okay, so here's an interesting thing. While I'm working on the referendum in San Francisco, I'm working with professionals who've been doing this sort of stuff for like forever. one was a former NRA lobbyist, and two were former NRA lawyers. They were also involved in guiding the San Francisco referendum stuff.
Okay.
At some point, at one evening, we got together, we had some drinks. I brought up the conversation point. And by the way, these guys have been in the tobacco and the vapor field for like quite a few years, so they sort of understand it. And basically what they told me, and it's hard to disagree with them, the way they see it is it's not possible because your industry is so divided.
Right.
You can't get everybody behind a single message. And that is the power that the NRA had, because there really was only one issue. And it always is one issue. And everybody always gets behind the same message on that issue. Not the case in this industry, because business interests do not align half of the time. We've got online retailers who hate brick and mortars. We've got brick and mortars who want online banned. We've got brick and mortars who hate nicotine salts. We've got C-stores who sell these products. And it is so divided, you don't get enough support for a single message. You don't get enough support for a single action.
So are you saying that it's because of the division in the industry that creates a division between the advocacy groups?
Yes, because if you look at the different advocacy groups, and especially state groups, most of the state groups are started and run by the very business stakeholders who run shops and manufacturers and all that. So I've seen it in several organizations where even people on the board end up not quite agreeing, and it causing more tension than there should be. Some organizations are better than others, but you still end up with the same people who are so divided on the messaging, the actions, the type of strategies to take, are also the same people who are running these organizations. So logically, you're going to have like people butting heads and disagreeing. And unfortunately, because of the level of sophistication in this industry, that usually turns into more drama than it ever should be.
So going forward, what do you think the future holds for Not Blowing Smoke? There was another rumor, or I got a wisp of that Not Blowing Smoke may be disbanding.
That's absolutely actually true. I've been sort of putting the word out there. I've heard some rumors about like, why are you guys still fundraising when you're shutting down? Well, we're still fundraising because we're trying to crawl through and like make good on several of the things we're still engaged in, instead of like trying to pull the plug in a hard sort of way and having to let everybody down. But the current situation is that we technically should have shut down 3 months ago.
Okay.
We managed to just like get just enough money in to crawl through another month and crawl through another. Current situation right now is that we're looking at possibly filing disbanding papers and filing our final 990 at the end of next month.
Okay.
Unless something happens again and we just like can keep running for another month or another. Or it's turned into this situation where I don't have the time to go out and fundraise.
Right.
I'm too overloaded already. People no longer understand what it is we do. The people who understand are the people who are directly involved, like the folks in Sacramento. They know exactly what we're doing. There's no time to update the general public. There's no time to do much else other than focus on another flavor ban and the next one and the next one that's coming up. Right. We're basically just too overloaded. And, you know, if we take a time out of a month and try and fundraise, there's going to be shit that happens in that month.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those situations where I've been telling people, yeah, we're going to shut down. I've been telling people that for 3 months. We're at the stage where we have to shut down, because if we don't, unless something changes,
it's purely a
we're
funding
going to possibly
issue.
Run into the red, and nobody wants to pick up that bill.
It's primarily a funding issue.
Yep, it's 100% a funding issue.
Can I interject a really bad joke?
Sure, of course.
Why don't you just build a website?
Well, you know what? I tried doing that, and then we had this big tobacco company who came along and said, "Hey, you know what? Here's $13 million. You just got punked."
Stefan's out on the runway scraping letters as they tell him, like, no,
don't take my face off the tail.
Well, that's...
But by the way, MBS shutting down does not mean that I'm shutting down. I will be shutting down the activities I do for MBS, but I will definitely reappear. I'll reappear in a slightly different form, in a slightly different fashion, though.
So I went and
Can't
found
wait.
a Truth Initiative ad, and Zophie Vapes is actually clipped in there a couple of times.
I'm going to do a screen capture and put it up on Instagram. Go ahead and tag her, because that has been told me a couple times that Sophie's in there.
Few folks have already reached out. Haven't actually gotten a response yet, but yeah, that's definitely a conversation that is worthy of having.
Lawsuit.
I don't know that there's a lawsuit, but you can ask that it be taken down, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think a lawsuit is really tricky, since it's only like a very small portion. They could argue it's a public service announcement. It was out in public. It's part of copyright fair use clause.
Yeah.
However, you can definitely demand that they take your likeness off.
Yeah. So that screws up the video for 30 seconds that it takes them to edit her out. But
Well, she's in there like,
enough.
2 different times, so at least.
And they're using Zophie because she looks young, I guess.
I think so.
Well, this wouldn't be the first time. I mean, they used an audio clip of hers on, I think it was NPR radio, and they were talking about underage dual use or underage vaping or something like that, and they basically took an audio clip of one of her videos. They eventually posted a retraction, which of course nobody gets to see.
Fair use.
But yeah, Sophie is definitely not underage.
No, she is not. A little on the crazy side, but
Wait, what? People in the vapor scene are a little crazy?
imagine
Never
that,
knows
Stefan.
that.
There's definitely
that's
nobody
Stefan.
on this panel that's.
God, we must be the only normal ones.
We are. We're all sane.
Pretty sure.
I'm so sane
We're good.
over here in my blankie poncho.
All right, well, it's about that time. Why don't we run around the room real quick and do our outros? We'll start with Jesse,
Wait, me?
because you look ready.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Stefan, and talking
Sure.
and giving more information out and stuff. It's always freaking awesome. And thanks for having me on, Gizzard.
Yeah, I like your background.
Thank you. Like that?
Mm-hmm.
It's real.
Oh shit!
Just kidding.
I'm like, wait, I'm seeing a little fringe of green screen there. What the hell?
Painted the entire wall green.
It took me 48 hours to paint that. No. Everybody check out my website. I redid it. It's on a new platform now. It should work better, look better, feel better. It's standup3d.com. That's it.
Upgrades. All right. Golf Tee, you have a show tomorrow. You want to pimp that?
Sure, I'll gladly do so. Tomorrow, the new show starts. It's not new, but it's new-ish.
Newish.
I'm doing a couple of changes, and people are going to notice those right out of the gate. But then we will get into our normal shenanigans as usual. There's one thing I do want to mention because my heart is still broken over it. You still have some time left. Go over to OHMAGEDDON.com. They will be shutting the doors here shortly. There are some items left that are not out of stock. do yourself a flavor and go over there and buy what's left over. She's a fantastic person, so is Ducky. Should be doing everything we can for them, especially for all they've done for us.
Here, here.
Also, you can still use code DARKNESS over there for 33% off until the door has officially closed. So do yourself a favor. Go pick up whatever they have left. It's worth your time. And pay attention tomorrow, because there's a new dropping. So we're ending one era and starting another new one.
Yeah. Lumi. What's up, girl?
Not much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for all of the information, Stefan. I personally love trying to help as much as I can with advocating, but I have the memory of a fish. So I normally just find really good, reputable people that actually know what they're talking about, so I am more sure. So I'm glad I got to be here and listen to you. It's wonderful.
We're just gonna get you a nicer bowl.
Yes. And then, yeah, thanks for having me. I will send a link to the Truth Initiative ad at the end of the stream, so you guys can all click on it and go.
I don't know that we want to give them views, but maybe wait for someone to post some shit on Instagram and repost that.
Don't post that in my chat.
You don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't really want to give them views because that's just fuel for the fire.
Okay, fine. You get nothing.
You can Google it. Google it with your secret browser.
Yep, incognito browser. Don't give them a view.
Exactly.
Ad block it.
Don't let them cookie you. All right, thanks, Lumi. Fresh.
What's up?
You get to go.
So there are a couple of special shows happening tomorrow. Jennifer Jarvis over on Flavor Pro is going to be running a show, a Halloween mixing show. So that's guaranteed to be fun. I know myself, Addie Tooney, I believe Shindo is going to be there. Several of the Mix and Vixens are going to be on the panel, so it's going to be a really good time. And then at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Dawn from Midori E-Liquid will be announcing what her new flavor is. I'm assuming that I'll have it in my hand tomorrow. I've been checking that tracking religiously. So she'll be unveiling the new flavor. Generally, her shows are pretty quick, so it'll be a nice quick. This is what it is. Thanks for supporting us. It's always a good time to go hang out on Dawn's channel. So everybody go check out Dawn's show. And then we got the golf tee. We got the golf tee tomorrow for the new format, Halloween night. So look forward to whatever costumes we can cobble together to hang out on my Battle Buddies channel. And then Friday, fingers crossed, we'll have a returning guest on. And then Saturday is a very, very special show for me over on my channel. Over the Saturday DIYing show is going to be an awesome one, a really, really awesome one. So everybody tune into Saturday DIYing. I won't give the secret away to what it is, but as soon as you see the title Saturday morning, you'll know that it's going to be a good one. So, and then Lumi's getting a bunch of flavors in this week, so it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome hanging out in the kitchen on Monday.
Excellent.
Back to Gizzard Stew at the Poopy Pants desk.
Well, thank you.
That's right.
I'm going to give the floor to our special guest in case he has a few parting comments he'd like to make.
Let's see, parting comments. First of all, thank you for having me. You guys are always a ton of fun. Second, if you run a business on Instagram, please check your followers. Be diligent. You see weird activity, you see a bunch of kids, just like knock them all off, because this is just not going to be good. And I'm going to leave everybody with a suggestion and a request. If anybody dresses up as Mitch Zeller or Scott Gottlieb for Halloween, please send me the pictures. Hey, could anything be scarier?
Not really.
I mean, Adam Pilarczyk terrified me the other night, but man, a good Scott Gottlieb.
You just get like black socks with white skulls on them, right?
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
That's fantastic. Get a suit. Get a nice skull and crossbones necktie to wear with it, and then just have absolutely no facial expression whatsoever while you're
bingo.
Perfect.
Get yourself some zero nicotine and just vape it all night.
Well, he doesn't even like zero, so.
Well, no, I'm saying for the safety of vaping it all night.
True.
Okay, it's up to me. I want to thank my panelists for participating tonight. A special thank you to Stefan. Appreciate you coming on. It's great to have you on always, because you've got a lot to say, man.
A lot of stuff happens on a daily basis.
I know, it's great though. It's good to, I feel caught up a little. So that's good. And you're awesome at answering tough questions. So I appreciate you coming
Well, those
tonight.
are the best ones.
I know. I tried to give you a few toughies tonight. Happy birthday to Swaggy Shane. I'm going to run this really quick.
Happy birthday to you.
So that was a little plug for Swaggy. Happy birthday, brother. Through tomorrow, or through tonight, I guess. He's still having his 30-30-30 sale through the 30th. That's tonight. Spend $30, get 30% off. And, of course, you can get Gizzard Brew over there. I'd also like to send people to OHMAGEDDON if possible. Give them a big send-off. Buy some stuff, because it's tomorrow is their last day that they'll be selling online. And much love to Ducky and Giancarlo. And other than that, I think that we'll do a traditional exit from this show, which entails, I was going to do Dr. Seuss, but one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. There you go. That's it. Thanks again, everybody. And as you go through the rest of your week, try and be nice to someone, if possible. And get off your butts and vape.
Fucking genius.
Get off your butts and vape. Get off your butts and vape.
Stuff her up your butt.
Get off your butts and vape. 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 Get off your butts and vape.
Bye, everybody.
Get off your butts and vape. Get off your butts and vape. Get off your butts and vape. Get off your butts and vape.
Bye.
Get off your